Try to silence injured workers seeking federal oversight. It's a minimum basic human rights. And that's not just Democrats, but also I'm having to encounter people from the Republican side as well, and in the middle too. As I have sought out to get the minimum federal standards on the table, the United States Congressional Research Service, which is a nonpartisan congressional research service, has told us we need these minimum federal standards on the table in 2020. Also, we were told that by Sanders in 2015 and Senator Patty Murray and Tom Perez, a whole bunch of other senators. But we've been told this since 1972 because we've needed a National Workers' Comp Commission since then, and which was something Nixon had started. So it's frustrating because the Republican guys like to come on and call me a socialist because I'm asking for what Senator Sanders told us we needed in the letter in 2015. And then the socialists will come on, and my Democrats come on and call me a Republican, or even QAnon I've been being, for asking for the minimum federal standards and basic human rights where a man gets more equality if they're harmed on the job in America today, or person. Okay? And yeah, somebody gets $35,000 for an arm in one state and $750 for another state. That's an inequality, and we can't build back or make America great again if nobody is addressing that kind of inequality. And this isn't 1786 anymore. We can have some minimum federal standards for all the workers across America and no longer use the states' rights and the Alec Bisman states' rights to basically trump our workers' federal human right, is what it comes down to. So as I've reached out since 2015 to get the minimum federal standards on the table, and by letter from Senator Sanders and Patty Murray here in the state of Washington, I have been blocked every step of the way from Democrats. And one Democrat we're going to talk about tonight is a man named Gary Downing. He's a union man and an ex-janitor worker or custodial worker for the school district, and kudos to him for that and his years of service. Also, in 2015, I asked for his help with my injured workers and the problems that we were all going through, and he told me at that time that he was, of course, willing to help, and this was before Sanders' letter came out. Senator Marilyn Chase was going to help me at that time, too, Washington State, Marilyn Chase, whose daughter runs the Human Rights Commission in my town. But anyway, none of them want to help. And also, when we got the letter, all my Democrats ran from me on the issue to stay whole Washington and Medicare for all. But now here it is, 5 years or more later, and I have the letter from the non-congressional, non-partisan research service that says we also need it. So it's frustrating that I also have part of my treatment, my mental health treatment, because I have my LNI pension and I have my SSDI. I presented my evidence to the SSDI judges, work comp judges, both state and federal, and even criminal judges have listened to my issues and sifted through my shit with a fine-tooth comb. Come to the conclusion I speak truth and I'm honest about what's going on. And so that's why in my health care, my mental health, which was court-ordered, used to be, it's not now, it just ended recently. But anyways, it was court-ordered for like 6 years, the last time for 2 years. And during that process, CMAR Mental Health, has been my behavioral mental health here in the state of Washington, has been telling me to think kumbaya on the internet to get my voice heard and my people's issues heard, and the harm and abuse and state codified patient abuse and state systemic patient oppression is what I think, or state codified abuse. Anyways, this man, Gary Downing, befriended me before, and like I said, ran from me when I had the Sanders letter, and just like the Bernie-crats ran from me. So it's always been puzzling that now as I've come forth in the non-congressional research service also says we need this, and it's something we've needed for a long time. It's puzzling that I have both sides coming out of the woodwork trying to shut me down and close me out of Facebook because they don't want the truth told, and they'll try and entice you into arguments. Anyway, I won't go into that. But here I want to share Gary's page because he wants to be a liberal, and he wants to, which I'm all for, and he wants to be a union man. I'm also for, but they don't want to seem to get honest about this issue, and he wants to tell people not to listen to me. So I'm going to try and transfer you over and see. This is the first time I'm doing this, so I can see if it can work. I want you to see this page. There. This is the Facebook page, and this is Bulgaria, where I've been sending some stuff on this union page. This is a really nice page, and kudos to whoever's putting up this page. It's labor movement unions and the working class. It's been around for quite a few years now, and I was presenting some of my stuff to something they had put up, something I don't know I don't know what the thing was, something about holidays, workers of the world to unite, something like that. Instead of saying Merry Christmas, we should say unite. Anyways, I put up some of my stuff. I said, unite for Fed oversight for America's injured workers that have been left behind, and I put up my video from where the FBI sent, SSDI sent the FBI to my home to share with folks, and then I also shared some other videos there, all my work comp Santa, which is a really good video and explains some, and then I also put up some other video that I'm not even in about Out of the Rust movie job site. An injured worker, not the one who got shot, but another one that got bit by a spider, is saying he's fighting for his workers' comp and trying to draw attention to onto work safety. So it's not just me, it's somebody else. I'm not even in the video. But yeah, Gary Downey, my good old friend and labor buddy here in the great Northwest and Union Man, says, here's what Gary said. It seems some people here are pushing for a fascist way of life. Well, one where the dictator makes sure all people are either fed or starved. And now he puts this in caps, all capital. And Darren posting lots of YouTube posts on here just makes people feel you're an ass. This post looks like it came right out of the dictator's book putting down a constitution. Which I didn't see the post doing that at all, and definitely my stuff wasn't doing that. If anything, I want you to stand up and fight for our minimum federal rights that would be part of the Constitution. And under the Constitution of the United States, equality for all is one thing that Constitution represents, Gary Downey. But I'm just going to stay with that for now. I'm also, while I'm on here, I might as well show you guys this other page that we've got. It's injured workers should go there and get your voices heard from Republican and both right and left. This gentleman who runs it is letting both sides be heard. He lets my voice be heard there. And he lets others be heard there. So anyways, this is a beautiful site. It's where people, injured workers from across the nation are gathering and getting our voices heard. And union representatives across this nation, it would behoove you to hear our voices and hear our stories as we're asking out for your help for our minimum federal human rights. It's not just injured workers' rights. This is all workers' rights at the end of the day, especially when you find out we've lost 15% of our grand bargain over the last, nationally, over the last 5 years, which is a 10-year trend. So it's frustrating to me when I'm reaching out to my community and my Democrat echelon, both on the corporate Dem side and on the Bernie-crat side, and they all tell me to go away with my human rights issue, the same as the Republicans coming out of the work are also telling me, well, yeah, you're big government, you got to fear you're socialist, and the other ones are calling me a Republican and a QAnon member. So it's frustrating. So I'm gonna, anyways, you can check this site out, it's really good. But just to me, it's frustrating when you reach out to all these people and try to get help from them. As a lifelong Democrat and who was a union member in good standing and a good member of the University of Washington employee when I was hurt on the job, and all I've done is plead for help and tell the truth, as people don't want to help. And even CMAR Behavioral Mental Health should be stepping up and getting my voice heard by our lawmakers as their legislative liaison, Claudia Alegre, has their Rick Larson's ear, Representative Rick Larson's ear. And let me transfer you back over here, because if I can figure out how to do this. I think I get it. Voila! I'm back again. I figured it out. An old dog can't do any tricks. Given an opportunity. That's what it's all about, Gary Downey. When you want to talk about people starving people out, well, that's what's happening in workers' comp, sir, and I've been trying to tell you that for about 5 years now, as you refuse to listen, and then go out of your way to tell others not to hear Mr. Fonso or Darren as he asks and pleads for the minimum federal standards that we know we need. Just heartbreaking. And it's frustrating, like I say, when I'm told to sing Kumbaya on the internet and do YouTube videos in my treatment for the last couple of years, and I even have a video sharing my diagnosis and treatment orders or whatever I'm supposed to be doing, and it's supposed to be use song and dance to get my voice heard by my lawmakers and my class, the harm done to my class of injured workers addressed through YouTube. So it's frustrating when I have somebody like Gary Dowling from the union, questioning what I'm doing here. And it's not right, it's not appropriate. And if anybody, those union members, those union brothers should be stepping up to help us. And you're shooting yourselves in the foot when you don't help the injured workers of America, because that's what I'm trying to get at, Gary. And you say being starved out and stuff, but that's what's happening to the injured workers. If you listen to me long enough, you find out that we're being starved out and did not even be invoked because of the privatized vote system. You say the other side is done, and I agree with you. They privatized our vote to a point that it's being used as a tool to harm us instead of help us, along with our health care is also used to harm us, and the doctors hide behind these state med tort laws and state med boards that condone this abuse, Gary. And so then we're cost shifted also, Gary, off to the federal rolls and SSDI if we're so lucky, and even as pensioners are cost shifted off to the SSDI, Gary, and that's part of the problem. On SSDI, you're also put through a gauntlet and strung out for 8, 10, and 12 years, and people are denied who should have been approved to start with. And had we been given those opportunities, Gary, for those work services back at the beginning that we're all being denied of and then purged to the street to die, there's your class war. There's what you need to be addressing. That's what our unions need to wake up and be talking about and sharing with the world, not telling one of the victims of that as they come forth to share about it. To get my mental health people, number one, well, sing Kumbaya on YouTube there and get your voice heard, and maybe someday something will go viral, and maybe that'll help your people. Or the other thing they tell me, well, maybe they won't get it fixed in your lifetime, Darren. You just keep at it, though. Keep blowing that whistle, Darren. As they have Claudia Alegre, who has the ability to get her patient, and the workers' voices heard. Their community, and they're choosing not to because they choose to push all Washington and Medicare for all only. I'm okay with that if they push those, but you don't use those as an excuse to tell injured workers to go away with their human rights issue. And for my union brothers and sisters, like I say, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because if you would help us to fight for our basic human rights, we wouldn't be being purged in the streets like we are and cheated out of the vote, and we'd be given the opportunities at still good union-paying jobs, and we would still be union-paying members. That's why our priorities are out of whack when we side with priorities of the Bisman and the Latino Civic Alliance here in the state of Washington instead of siding with the workers. Because having us put back online is better than having us mothballed or starved out into the streets. And the homelessness you see on the rise here, Gary Downing, and King County alone has doubled in the last year, sir, as I have begged for help from you. Not only that, but like I said, we have lost 15% of our grand bargain benefits nationally. The insurance commission or whatever industry has come out and told us that. They're all happy about it because, they've saved 15%. But that has costed it. And though we can trace 25% of the on-the-job injury, opioid-related deaths back to state-related broke work comps as well. So, Gary, it's important to listen to the workers and to the victims, not tell them to go away or tell us we're fascist, or what the other side will call us socialist, you guys call us fascist. Why not just listen to the injured workers as they're coming forth as a human being and pleading and begging to you? I have no other reason to do this. I have a pension. I have my SSDI. I proved my facts to the judges in our community. I even have a video, Gary Downing, of speaking to an FBI agent who come to my door, who I shared all this evidence and truth with as well. And I put it on the internet. Why would I do that, Mr. Downing, if I wasn't trying to help people here? So when I'm trying to help the humans and the workers in my community, and I have my own union brothers and sisters all wanting to protect the status quo and the top, and not the workers on the bottom, then there's something wrong here, and we discuss this. And we need another National Workers' Compensation Commission. I don't care if you're an injured worker on the right or the left. If you're going to help us, you need to step up and demand that minimum federal human rights for all of us. It's just some basic human rights, like we have a basic minimum wage. And to cry excuses of big government, we got to fear big government, and the other side, oh, you got to fear the socialists. Put all that aside. If you're going to advocate for injured workers, you got to put your baggage of either side's party's baggage at the door and advocate for the workers. Because what the workers need is minimum federal standards and another National Workers Commission. And we needed it since 1972, and we've been told that by both sides. And now, a National Workers' Congressional Commission research report also told us we need this. So it's a nonpartisan issue, but an issue that shouldn't be pushed off the table by either side. for other issues, especially on my liberal left, that we keep losing on. And my sheep are being, here in Washington State, are being forced to chase their tails for something we never get. And then now we're told that whole Washington, well, maybe you got to plan on maybe getting it in 2026. So the Injured Workers of America, Gary Downing, are going to have to wait for you all to get whole Washington. And then even if you got it, then what is that going to do for the compensation between a man in Arkansas getting $35,000 for an amputated arm and a guy in Georgia getting $750,000 for the same amputated body part? And what about dying from coronavirus on the job? What about getting paid the same price for a human body no matter where you get hurt on the job if you die in America, instead of it having to be in each state getting to decide how much a human life is worth? Especially with an arm. It's just, anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. I wanted to try and keep it a little bit short. I've gone too long here. Oh, there was one more thing I wanted to say. A lot of the injured workers that are following me, when I'm not on the Facebook restriction in jail, both Facebook and reality, I reached out to the North Sound Behavioral Health to complain about Seymour Health failing me in my mental health and failing to advocate for me and advocate on my behalf and injured workers' behalf and other patients' behalf to get our truth told to the lawmakers as they have their official ear. And the Northbound Sound Behavioral lady, I complained back in 2015 as well to them, and when they tried to use the Latino legislative liaison to use the farm workers to basically as a fake front to come and say you don't have to fear reporting your on-the-job injuries. We do that in every state. We use the immigrants once a year to have them come around and rally around the capitals and then have some work comp lawyers come out and say, oh, don't worry, you don't have to fear reporting. What we all have to fear reporting because you all have to go through Scotland. And those lawyers aren't telling you if you ain't got a third-party lawsuit, you're going to have to be pro bono, like I was for 8 years, and driven insane in the process. Something Gary Downing doesn't want to take time to learn from one of the victims to learn about. So anyways, and it's frustrating to me that my mental health people tell me about this. They tell me to sing about it. I've shared their diagnosis with me on the net. They share it with, like I say, judges and work comp judges and criminal judges and federal judges, but they won't share it with the lawmakers. And then when I try to get the behavioral health people to address this, they do nothing. This time around, though, this lady said, we're all new people here, and those people are gone, and I'm going to try and help you. And she come back with some advocacy for me and some ideals for me, so I could advocate for myself. Not go tell Seymour, hey, you ought to be advocating for this man. She's telling me how I need to go advocate for myself again. And that is really frustrating at this point. It's the same thing my therapist tells me. Well, you got to sing on the internet to get your issue addressed there. And when they have an avenue to get this harm and abuse addressed by our lawmakers, they're not taking it. Anyways, what she told me to do is to go to the free legal aid, a service that the FBI agent told me he also called and tried to get me hooked up with the SSDI FBI guy that came to my home. He tried to refer me to some free legal aid because he said, Darren, why don't you get a lawyer? And he found out we can't get lawyers. So he's a real nice guy and he tried to help me, but we can't get lawyers, and that's part of the problem. If people, labor guys like Gary Downing and Larry Brown would stop and listen and hear us, they would learn this. But they don't want to hear from the victims. They just want to sell you whatever they're being told to sell you from the top. And when the people from the bottom rise up, they stifle us out and try to hear us and stamp us as delusion. That's all I can go with that. But here was the other kicker. And Injured Workers of America, if you hang on this long enough. The other person she told me to contact and who I should get to advocate for me is the National Association of Injured and Disabled Workers. Wow, we all know them longtime injured workers because they've been around for a long time. I even have a video where I put one of their videos, which is one of the best videos we got out there, that shows that we're the largest minority group in the nation, yet nobody steps up to represent us. They also talk about how it hurts veterans a lot and they're not being helped as well, and how it hurts officers down, which NADAL is a part of. She didn't know that. I had to school her on the fact that, yes, I know all about NADAL and how Officer John Aubrey runs that, and how he befriended me on Facebook before. And I think we are still friends, but I don't know, maybe he's gone down just the state road fix and doesn't want to help with the federal fix. I'm going to give him a phone call tomorrow and find out where NADAL stays with that, since my North Sound Behavioral Health people will tell me that probably that's who I should call to get to advocate for us in our workers' minimum federal human rights. We've been told we've needed since 1972. So yeah, I'm going to call Mr. Aubrey, who is my old buddy, and give him a chat tomorrow and see where he stands with this issue. A state fix or getting on board with a federal fix, because this is where the failure is at. The groups who are supposed to be helping us are not helping us, like National Kosh, my Democrats, Our Revolution, Uphill Media Progressives, on down the list, Pramila Jayapala, she doesn't want to help us, and we got Senator Patty Murray, who's been silent. They wrote us a love letter in 2015, her and Senator Sanders and Tom Perez, but have never given us lip service since then, and I question why that was done. Was it done to mess with the mental health of the injured workers of America, to give us a solution and then have everybody try to silence us as we try to put that solution on the table? I feel this is inappropriate and oppressive of my health care in the state of Washington this time, and I'm going to reach out to Medicare as well to report this, because I believe they are paying for part of this point in time, and it is egregious to allow this to go on and not continue to report the harm and abuse and the injured workers and SSDI recipients and the needed solutions that everybody has refused to put on the table for 5 years now, from the left and the right. President Trump ran, and he didn't say a word. Biden ran, he didn't say a word. Sanders ran for 2 cycles, and he didn't say a word. He also used injured Amazon worker Shannon Allen to sell $15 an hour. She was upset because she wouldn't sell rank-and-file committees, anti-union rank-and-file committees that the world socialist was selling. See, injured workers get used by the right and the left. The immigrants get used to say state fixes are just fine. Well, nobody's telling us the truth about some of us, all of us, workers across this nation needs basic minimum federal standards. So this war, this wage upon the state mentor and work comp laws, is no longer allowed to go down. Have a good day. Gary Dowling, I still, love you as the liberal, loving brother that I am. But you got to get honest. And telling around and telling people not to hear what I've got to say, when I have a mental health record, and I have, what do we call it, the pension, and I have the SSDI, and I have I'm declared delusional, Gary. I can't make myself that. Somebody else has to do that. And this kind of shit, Gary, when you're supposed to be a good human being who's standing up for union workers and standing up for the workers' rights here in the United States of America, some equality, brother, where an arm for $35,000 in one state and $750 in another state, or also gender bias. That's another one, Gary. You and Larry Brown want to talk about chivalry to me. Yet when I tell you gender bias and Assemblywoman Gonzalez, I think that's her name, out of California, has fought for 5 years for gender bias for women in California, and then Governor Newsom shot that bill down, then we need some solutions for the gender bias that's going on a federal level, because state Democratic governors are shooting us down on it. Mr. Chivalries, do you know that our balls are worth 10% more than a woman's balls? If we're firefighters get hurt on the job, if they get cancer in their breasts and we get it in our testicles, we get 10% more than they do. That's right. There's gender bias, and there's other biases as well. That's just one example. But when you tell me you're for women's rights, you're for human rights, and you're for immigrants' rights, and that's another thing. The ones harmed on the workers in this nation the most are our immigrant workers. And we need to step up and fight for them and their human rights as well, because every worker's rights are human. Gary Downey, you need to help me, bro. Not go around and try and silence me, or have Our Revolution people come down to our work comp story sites and try and shut down my groups, as was done by the Berniecrats Revolution folks, and have Jason call for Congress, call me unhinged. I'm sorry. You need to go back and teach young Jason and know that Darren may have some issues, but there's a reason for that. And if you listen to some of the videos, we have work comp lawyer who's now deceased, who was in a motorcycle accident, David DiPaolo, who I respected, but he also was a work comp lawyer who's told both sides, and I believe maybe might lean more towards the Republican side, even though he was pushing single payer in Colorado, which I believe as work comp lawyers behind this stuff because it's going to lower the state work comp rates for the bizmen more than it's going to help the poor folks. And here in the state of Washington, I've been a poor man on and off, been in and out of jails, the school of hard knocks, let's call it, on and off for, since I was 26 years old. I've been here in the States in my 50s, so 25 years now. I've also worked at the hospital care bedside, clean and sober, for 15 years. So I know we have free health care. If you're hurt, you will get health care. If you're amputated, you will get fixed up and sewn up. The problem is how much you'll get compensated. So even Medicare for All would not have resolved their compensation issues for those men getting the different prices in the work comp shops for the body part. Or a vocational service is a whole other issue. And that's what it comes back around to, Gary Downing, is opportunities for vocational services. People are being robbed from us through our health care and privatized voc services, being used as tools to hurt and harm us that needs federal minimum standards and some policing, so as this is a certain class of human beings is allowed to use our state laws and med-tort laws to wage this war on us the way it's going down. And it's egregious when I'm saying the same thing in the United States Congressional Congress of nonpartisan smart folks from both, senators from both sides, I guess, and representatives, I don't know who, the United States Congress, the smart folks from both sides got together and their objective was to be a think tank to figure out what injured workers in America needed, and their conclusion was that we need these minimum federal standards that they called for and another National Workers' Compensation Commission that we've needed since 1972. I'll leave it at that. I get long-winded, but it's just such, and then people say, oh, you're passionate. It's our human rights. Why wouldn't I do that? Have a good day.
Staying both on the job and healthy may be as vital as ever as a new investigation shows workers' compensation benefits nationwide have been cut. The moves benefit employers and insurance companies that are supposed to cover hurt workers. ProPublica and NPR conducted the joint investigation. The outlets published identical articles Wednesday morning, along with a state-by-state breakdown profiling the cuts over the past 13 years. Here are some of the investigation's key findings. Since 2003, lawmakers in 33 states have passed new laws reducing workers' comp benefits or making them tougher for employees to access. Each state varies significantly on how much you can receive, so where you get hurt matters. Many states cut off benefits after an arbitrary time limit instead of when the worker is recovered, and employers and insurance companies now have more control over medical decisions. The report was especially critical of states like Florida, which has reduced workers' comp benefits by 65% over the past 2 decades. In California, insurers can use the opinions of doctors who never actually saw a patient to reopen old cases and deny medical care. Independent medical reviewers in that state denied the recommendation of workers' doctors in 91% of cases.
Yeah, everyone thinks that workers' comp is so expensive, but in fact, we looked at the numbers and we found that employers are actually paying the lowest cost for workers' compensation insurance since the 1970s. And insurers are doing fairly well too. In 2013, they had an 18% profit, their best year since the 1990s.
In another case highlighted Wednesday morning, ProPublica and NPR pointed out a worker who loses an arm on the job in Alabama is only entitled to a maximum of $48,000 in compensation. Just across the border in Georgia, a worker could get almost $700,000 more over his or her lifetime. ProPublica and NPR say the investigation took up much of the last year for the outlet's 2 reporters, Michael Grable and Howard Burkus. For Newsy, I'm Cliff Judy.
Trying to reach out to you, only feeling like a fool when you treat me so damn cruel. you don't understand me. All this passion that has enraged me, or a quest for destiny. I'm just trying to get you to hear me, to feel me, to see the fire inside of me. Just here's my story. I'm not looking for no glory. I just want you to hear my song. I've been trying to share my heart with you. I've been trying to share my truth with you, but you just don't hear me. Oh, I've been trying to reach out to you, only feeling like a fool when you treat me so damn cruel. Oh, I know you don't understand me. All this passion that has enraged me on our quest for destiny. Oh, I'm just trying to get you to hear me, to feel me, but to see the fire inside of me. I'm just trying to share my story. I'm not looking for no glory. I just want you to hear my song. I've been trying to share my heart with you. I've been trying to share my truth with you, but you just don't hear me. No, I've been trying to reach out to you, only feeling like a fool when you treat me so damn cruel. Nah, I know you don't understand me. All this passion that has enraged me on a quest for destiny. I'm just trying to get you to hear me, feel me, or see the fire inside of me. I'm just trying to share my story, not looking for the glory. Just want you to hear my song. Trying to share my heart with you, trying to share my truth with you, but you just don't hear me. No, I've been trying to reach out to you, been feeling like a fool when you treat me so damn cruel. Oh, I know you don't understand me. All this passion that has enraged me on a quest for destiny. Oh, and I'm just trying to get you to hear me, or to feel me, or to see the fire inside of me. I'm just trying to share my story, not looking for no glory. I just want you to hear my song. And I know sharing your heart is a song might be wrong, but you just don't hear me.